From the darkest corners of the creepy old house down the street to the screams in the night. Settle in, ParaFamily, to join with Whitney and Brandon for another spooky episode of the ParaUnity Podcast.
And good evening, ParaFamily. It's your girl, Whitney, and welcome to another episode of the ParaUnity Podcast. Hope everyone's doing well. Brandon will be joining us again. I promise you, I did nothing to him, which would be really weird considering we're in two different states. I promise you, I did not hire anybody to destroy him or anything like that. No, I'm just kidding. Brandon's good. He sends his love. He thanks you all for all the love and support. He will be back on probably before the Christmas season. It has been a crazy closing of 2023. Brandon actually told me that he feels like that 2020, the end of 2020 kind of coasted very nicely. And so the universe decided, oh, I'm going to give you guys 2 years and now I'm going to drop the shit on you. Boing for 2023. That's what he thinks. That's what he said. I don't know about that. I don't know, but we're all good. We love you all. And we have got a show tonight. We have a full house of the merry band of the Freqs and Geeks Podcast. And it is so exciting. I'm very excited to have them on the show. A couple of quick things first. The chat is open. So if you have questions for our guests or anything like that, feel free to enter it into our chat. Keep it nice. Keep it nice. Oh, and by the way, Preston, if you're awake, go to sleep now. That's my son. Anyway, so I met a couple of the folks from the Freqs and Geeks podcast earlier this year at EnigmaCons at St. Albans Sanatorium in Radford, Virginia. Can I get a whoop whoop? And no, Betsy, I did not do anything to Brandon. I promise. We're going to be thinking that for the rest of the night. That's tonight's episode. Did Whitney do something to Brandon? No. Thank you, Betsy. All right. So when I met the folks from Freqs and Geeks, I totally hit it off with them. And now I'm actually playing Dungeons and Dragons with two of them right now. And shenanigans will ensue. So tonight we're going to be talking about all things geeky, all things paranormal. And Brandon, we love you and we miss you. So let me bring up the history of where some of these folks come from. Tonight, we have three guests representing Freqs and Geeks. We have April, we have Chris, and we have Carrix. They are delightful. Carrix is actually from my neck of the woods in Virginia. She lives outside of Richmond, Virginia, just like I do, in another area. For those of you who need a refresher on Richmond history, tune into our episode with the Haunts of Richmond with Chris and Beth Houlihan, and where we went all out on Richmond history and Richmond hauntings. And actually, just so you know, I had an interesting development recently. I'm now working at a new museum in Richmond, and it happens to be haunted. I'll leave that for you guys to try and figure out later. So Chris and April, they actually hail from Augusta, Georgia, which is located on the eastern border of the state across the Savannah River from South Carolina. According to the 2020 U.S. Census, Augusta's population was at 202,081 people. It's home to Fort Eisenhower Army Base, and it has been hosting the Masters Golf Tournament since 1934, which is an amazing, for those of you that follow golf, that's actually quite the occasion. It is so based on tradition and history. Who knows, maybe we'll do a deep dive into the Masters Golf Tournament. I don't know if anybody here plays golf. Let us know in the comments. Indigenous people were drawn to the Savannah River and the area that would become Augusta, Georgia, because of its location on the fall line. And for those of you that remember your geography from 2nd or 4th grade, the fall line is basically the area where the river drops to rapids and the fall and waterfall area. Come to think of it, Richmond is situated on the fall line of the James River. Another thing we all have in common. A group of Shawnee later became known as the Savannah tribe, and they interacted with another group known as the Westo. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a whole lot of information about the Westo, so I'll put up what I have in the show notes for a later date. In 1735, James Oglethorpe sent a detachment to navigate the upper portions of the Savannah River and to have people build a fort. And the settlement was named for Princess Augusta of Saxe-Gotha, the wife of Frederick, Prince of Wales, and she also happens to be the mother of the future King George III. We're going pre-revolution, folks. Oglethorpe also later had a peace treaty with 7,000 indigenous warriors working towards peace. I don't know how that actually went. Later on, it didn't go so well, especially after the 1830s. During the American Revolution, the Siege of Augusta, which took place in 1781, resulted in the Americans retaking the city from the British. And from 1785 to 1795, Augusta served as the second state capital of the state of Georgia. Now, Augusta grew rapidly due to its role in cotton production. Cotton plantations sprang up all over the area. And this particular area is known as the Black Belt because there is very rich, fertile, dark soil, which is perfect for growing certain types of cotton, which ended up being great for mass production. Unfortunately, that also meant thousands of enslaved individuals were forced to work within those plantations. Now, these individuals came from many different places. They went from the uplands, they were coming from the low country. So they were bringing elements of the Gullah culture with them. And if you want to learn more about the Gullah culture, I'm no authority on it. So what I will do is I will post something in the show notes so you can check it out from more authoritative sources than I. During the Civil War, Augusta was a center for powder production. So there were some powder works there. And actually, after the war, some of those powder works later got turned into textile mills, including one in particular, Sibley Mill, which I'll mention in a little bit. So Augusta thrived with the textile industry. There was a fire in 1916 that damaged 25 blocks of the city. And also, Augusta later on was active during the civil rights movement of the 20th century. One of the big notable cases was that of Charles Oatman, who was a teenager with mental disabilities. He was killed by cellmates in an Augusta jail in 1970. There was a protest about his death, and 6 African-American men were killed, shot in the back by police. A riot of 500 people broke out, and it actually took the famous singer and entertainer James Brown to actually dispel the tensions, and it actually worked. James Brown is amazing. Get up off that thing. Haunts of Augusta, Georgia include the Sibley Mill, which I mentioned earlier. It was built on the site of the old Confederate powder works, and the 153-foot tall obelisk chimney is still standing. Now, apparently, Sibley Mill, last I saw, was still in operation, and new employees actually have a spectral co-worker. She is said to be Maud Williams, who was a former employee who was shot and killed in 1906 by her co-worker and illicit lover, Arthur Glover. Maud appears in the weaving room, and the living do communicate with her. They talk with her, and then they're baffled when she vanishes. So that sounds pretty cool. We'll see if anyone's visited Sibley Mill. Sounds pretty awesome. And then, of course, one of my personal favorite genres, haunted universities. Augusta State University boasts several spooks. The most well-known is said to be that of Emily Galt. Emily's lover went to fight in the Civil War, and she argued with him about it. She didn't want him to go, but he believed he was doing his duty. And shortly after that, she is said to have jumped to her death from a window in Bellevue Hall. But there is a tangible link to Emily Galt. She did exist, for she and her sister Lucy etched their names and the date 1861 into the glass of the window pane using the diamond from Emily's engagement ring. So that's pretty cool. If I can find a picture of that, I'll post that in the show notes. But apparently the reason why some people say the campus is so haunted is because it was apparently built on the site of Civil War era homes and an arsenal. So there are apparitions of Confederate soldiers. There's footsteps in a lot of the dorms. And some of the dorms also deal with electronic and poltergeist activity. Wow, that's a lot so far. So you know what? Let's let the shenanigans ensue. So friends and paranormal para family, let's bring on the merry band of freaks and geeks. So we have Miss April and we have Mr. Chris. Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Oh, no, you're doing your Theron voice.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, for the record, me, Chris, and April play a Dungeons & Dragons game together. We play it online, and Chris actually does get into his voice role, so that's pretty cool. And I saw that Carrick's kind of dropped off, but we will see her soon. So,
okay.
Hi.
I actually have some interesting things to tell you.
Tell me some interesting things. Let's get this.
Okay.
What are we going to talk about first?
Okay, so the very first thing, right? So we talked about Gullah Geechee culture. So I wanted to recommend somebody. There is a gentleman named Sun Michaud, and he teaches about the Gullah Geechee culture at Harvard. Like that's his big thing, and he does YouTube videos, and he does a lot of outreach for the Low Country and stuff like that. He's fantastic. Highly recommend if you're interested. Sun Michaud.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get that into the show notes. And there's Miss Carricks. How are you doing, Carricks?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. Sorry, I'm back.
No problem. We actually have technical problems all the freaking time.
Dude, if somebody's gonna have technical problem, it's gonna be this one. It's gonna be that one right there. Right? She channels truckers on the show. Mr. Knock Knock. Like we have a trucker friend. He's a guest star on the show. There's a whole episode dedicated to him.
Oh God. And we are definitely going to get to that. But yes, let's also first thank April for her recommendation. If you wouldn't mind, we'll get the link from you and we'll put it up in the show notes. So, all right.
There's one more thing though. I do have one more treat. Okay. All right. So I'm going to tell you the best historical story, haunting story, right? In Augusta. I'm biased. Obviously, this is my opinion, but so the Medical College of Georgia used to be located in Augusta, Georgia. Okay. It was right downtown. It was on Telfair Street. It's a huge hulk of a building, beautiful architecture, really old, right? So back in the day, there were 7 doctors that were part of the staff there, full-time staff that were teaching. Well, they desired to get a janitor and a porter, so they went to the local slave market and they purchased a man named Grandison Harris, right, for $700. Now, Grandison would function as their janitor, and he was super overqualified because he could read and write. He was actually a fairly learned man for the time, and they knew that, and they never quite treated him, or at least the accounts, right? Who knows historical accuracies? Enslaved people didn't get the right to tell their own stories, so we'll never know for sure. But by journals and ledgers and things like that, he was actually treated very well. He had full like reign, and he was able to kind of go where he wanted and do what he wanted. He actually lived in the medical college in the basement. Now, the interesting part about him, though, Grandison what was called a resurrection man. Have you ever heard of that? A resurrection man?
I have. Yes, I have.
He was a resurrection man. So it was his job during the day, he would do the janitorial stuff and he would hang out and do whatever. But then at night, he would go and he would steal bodies for the Georgia Medical College. And he was prolific. He stole hundreds of bodies.
Wow.
During his tenure. Yeah, he's incredible. So people will see his apparition, see his spirit around the old Georgia Medical College. They rent it out now for like special functions and stuff like that, and it is just a very imposing building downtown. It's very interesting. So really cool.
How else are you supposed to do medical science if you're not stealing bodies?
Well, back then you really couldn't.
Yeah, you got to get them bodies.
Gotta get them bodies. Well,
I will say that when I go to work most mornings, I drive right past the Sibley Mill. Like I drive past it all the time. Oh yeah, it is. I mean, you can't miss it.
Also interesting. Yeah, it is. Very interesting looking building.
So according to the source I was looking at, they say it's still an active mill. Is that true? Is it still being worked?
Yeah, there's definitely parts of it that are being worked. I'm not sure if that actual building itself. I thought they had turned a lot of it into like a cyber, more offices for like cyberspace, because Augusta, Georgia has become like this mecca for cyber now.
I did see that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, you know what? They've just given us gifts. They've given.
That's what we do.
So far, they've given us gifts. And I have to say, when I've looked at y'all's website, my favorite thing to look at, and I hope we could use it as episode art for us, the picture of you guys together, just sort of crouching at a cave and just about ready to look in. And it tells the viewers about you and also your alignments. So for those of you who would love a dose of Dungeons and Dragons deep geek culture, what are your all's alignments? Carrie, what's your alignment?
Can we come back to me?
Okay. All right, go ahead. Chris, what's your alignment?
Like actual alignment or what I try to portray to people?
Both.
Ooh, that's deep.
What?
That's deep. I would say whatever you feel most comfortable sharing with the audience tonight.
I would say it's chaotic neutral.
Oh God. You know what? That doesn't surprise me. April, what's your alignment?
I want to say that I'm lawful, like good, but I'm not. I'm chaotic neutral as well. I just try and hide it too. Like I don't care how things get done. Yeah.
Okay, Carrie.
Truthfully, I'm just chaotic.
Hey!
She's an extra dose of chaos. That's true.
There's no order here.
There you go.
What else do you expect from a woman who keeps pocket knives in her bra?
It's like oops all berries, except it's oops all chaos.
Yes,
and on
exactly.
that wonderful, wow. Carrix, you've intrigued me even more. We actually live very close to each other, so I think we need to hang out more.
Yeah, just make a date at the Hollywood Cemetery.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I love the Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond. It's awesome. All right. So on that happy note, I think we should just start with the basic question. How did the Freqs and Geeks podcast get started?
Back in 1776.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Oh man.
So Carrie and I have actually been friends since the 6th grade. Like she's been my best friend since the 6th grade, forever. Right? We have a longer committed relationship than most marriages nowadays. But you know, we've always been interested in the paranormal. And then in 2000, I want to say 8, maybe 9, we had gone to it was a paranormal event at the Chesterfield County Jail. And it was like a, you know, public ghost hunt kind of thing. Carrie actually got it for me for my birthday, which
Aww.
is right next to her birthday. So, I mean, it was kind of like a joint thing, right? So we went to this thing and we're going around, and the way that they were describing it, and no hate to whoever, if you remember, you were doing investigations at the Chesterfield County Jail in 2007 or 2008. No hate to you. I don't mean anything by it, but we were going through the whole thing and we were like, man, we could do this better. Like, we both have enough knowledge to like be able to do a better job here. And to go through everything. So it was one of those scenarios where you kind of go in, and I think they hadn't really done that location before either, because they didn't know the history and all that stuff. And so we were, you know, we were kind of encouraged by that whole thing. Like, wow, this wasn't too bad. So we went to St. Albans. That was our first big girl hunt. St. Albans. Yep. We decided to go big. Actually, funny enough, we met before he became a part of Transcend. We met Brandon Whitaker at St. Albans. And it was his first hunt too. And so we just all banded together and investigated St. Albans, and it was just the 3 of us.
Wow.
And I think that was the night that we had our first exorcism situation.
Oh yeah, you guys actually told me that story.
So we got baptized by fire.
Yeah,
somebody get Chuck.
Somebody get Chuck.
Oh man.
So we got into it really quickly, and you know, we started going to all sorts of locations, and we started like really doing the work to look at the history, to see what was available. And we went to a lot of, like, you know, the first places that you go to, like public parks and, you know, historical areas and, you know, all sorts of stuff. We would go around to Hollywood Cemetery. You know, we would walk around and see if we could capture a photo or do anything. And then that eventually expanded to actually doing private investigations and actually booking like private hunts and then public hunts. And then we were running the public hunts, and then, you know, kind of here we are. The podcast itself was something that Carrie and I had talked about a long time ago. And we got to meet Ryan Jones of the Vibe Network.
I know Ryan. Yes.
Lovely guys. So we got to meet Holly Mullins and Ryan Jones and all those guys. And, you know, that was it. Our minds were kind of made up, like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to make a podcast. And it was terrible. The first 2 years. It was absolutely terrible.
Nobody starts out great. You got to build up.
We certainly did not. We certainly did not.
Oh, that's amazing. Carrie, tell me a little bit more about some of your experiences with the paranormal.
Well, I say that every house I've ever lived in has been haunted, but a few years ago, April made the point that it might actually just be me that's haunted and not the houses themselves.
Ah.
So my first experience was in my childhood home here, actually, outside of Richmond. And I would wake up at night, and there would be 3 people standing at the foot of my bed just watching me.
Wow.
You sleeping good?
You're terrible, Chris.
Didn't mean to wake you.
Wow.
You're not here.
Go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So that kind of kicked things off for me.
Sounds like it.
I come from a family that just is, I don't know, there's magically practicing people. My grandmother was super into Edgar Cayce and ARE, and just a lot of interesting people in my family.
Awesome. Yep, I know the ARE. My mom actually lives not too far from it.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I've been there several times. Chris, rounding it out, because now I do know that on the podcast, you're not always the only guy on the show, but right now you are. So how did you get involved in all of this?
It was part of April's courting mechanism.
Like a
my
spider.
first, yeah, my first hunt was also at St. Albans, but that is because April was like, "Would you like to go on a ghost hunt with me?" And I was like, "You know what? Sure, let's give it a try." Because I'd always been into the ghost hunting shows and all that kind of stuff. And me personally, while I was growing up, had like my own paranormal experience where it's just like, just knowing that you saw something that you can't really put your finger on how you saw it. Um, but you know, that's kind of where I got my start. And anytime that I go out with April um, or go out to any hunts, I usually am just the tech guy. So I'll take the pictures, I'll do do the video and all that kind of stuff while I let April be the one that's out there asking questions because I want her to be the one that's touched and not me. Uh, but and as far as the podcast is concerned, it kind of just evolved out of just kind of expanding the podcast. Uh, uh, when I came on, we ended up like it went from the radio show to we wanted to pre-record things because so it was easier for us, and we wanted to kind of expand our audio setup because I think at first it was just using like regular headsets on the computer, just like a gaming headset. um and so I just sort of just came on and started writing scripts and just became the announcer, I guess, if you want to call it, since I get
Yeah,
attacked by three women for the entirety of an hour to hour and a half.
that's true. You guys have other people on your podcast. Can you tell me a little bit about them?
Sure. We also have Stacy Somerville. She is currently, probably wrist deep in children activities right now. But
we can all relate. We can relate.
She is super busy. But yeah, we've got Stacy on board. She is our resident skeptic / religious advisor. She is a deeply devout Catholic, and so she really helps us when it comes time to kind of talk about more of a Christian perspective or more of a religious perspective. She kind of helps us there. She is also by nature, of course, kind of a skeptic in terms of some of the paranormal stuff, and she also her big thing is aliens, right? So Freaks and Geeks, we have room for everybody, right? So if you like conspiracy theories, we're going to talk about conspiracy theories. You like aliens, we will talk about aliens. You love Sasquatch, we're there for you too. Skunk Ape, all of it. Yeti, we'll do them all. And
you may, I'm sure you've made our good friend Betsy Kulikowski very happy when you mentioned Sasquatch.
Absolutely.
Betsy, we love you.
Betsy, let's go out there. Let's hunt it. Let's do it.
She would totally do that.
She needs to come here anyway because she's in Oglethorpe, so she needs to come to Augusta anyway.
That's right.
See the monuments, and then Georgia actually has the International Bigfoot Museum. We just go on a little hunt.
She's into it. I think Betsy's like, I have. Oh, Betsy, I okay, see? But you've met another kindred spirit here.
I will say the fun thing about having Stacy on is that because she's so ingrained within the Catholic religion, you can see a lot of the parallels when it comes to researching the history behind a lot of older ideologies and religions, and you can see where the Catholic faith kind of, I won't say steals, but gets inspired.
Borrows.
Borrows.
Appropriate.
Yes. And on top of that, also, you look at, what, modern witches, if you want to call them that, and, the rituals they conduct. And then you can draw parallels to what you see in ceremonies within, Catholicism or Christianity in general, and being like, well, you just call them different things, but you're all doing the same thing. You're all doing magic rituals. You just have different names.
It's just great to hear about different perspectives for sure. So,
yay! And then we also have Oh, sorry, Carrie, go ahead.
I just want to say, I think that is one of those like best things, honestly, about our show is that we all have these different perspectives, but we're all absolutely respectful of each other's thoughts and opinions and feelings.
That's fantastic. And go ahead, April.
Well, I was going to say we have one more member to go, and that's Heather Hodges, who you also met at St. Albans.
I do remember Heather.
Heather is actually in Texas. So Stacy is out at the Tidewater region in Virginia, and Heather's out in Texas and New Braunfels. She's kicking cactus and looking for Western specters out there.
There's a lot of haunted stuff in New Braunfels. I actually did a little bit of research on it. One of the big haunted locations in that area is the Magnolia Hotel in Seguin, Texas. So that's
where Jane had her 10th birthday.
Are you serious?
That's where she wanted to have her 10th birthday. Don't just think we took her there on a whim. That's where she wanted to go.
We hosted her first public ghost hunt there, and we had like friends come, and we were just at this haunted location, and then she got to investigate all weekend long.
Wow.
And I didn't sleep at all.
And I can't get Preston to join me on a ghost hunt whatsoever, but it's because he's skeptical. But you raised an interesting point because Chris, you and April are parents. So how do you integrate the parent, if at all, how do you integrate the paranormal with your kids, with April, with Jane and all that?
Jane's been about that life since she was 5 or 6 years old. I've got a video of her in the Beacon Theater in Hopewell walking around with a K2 at 6 years old. And I think she was actually 5, and she's just walking around with a K2. And she's had experiences. She's scared the crap out of me sometimes with some of these experiences that she's had, but she is fearless. And so I try and approach her really rationally and really calmly. I mean, even Carrie's got kids too. And
Carrie,
I dare something to come after Ruby.
Carrie, tell us about your experience with your kids and the paranormal.
So my kids have also always experienced things wherever we've lived. But my youngest child, Ruby, she actually had her first investigation at Magnolia Grange in Chesterfield County.
Oh yeah, I know that place.
And just had a blast. And even before that, she's in her room during sleepovers with dowsing rods and trying to communicate with whatever's going on in the house. So I think kind of just being around it probably helps them not be afraid and be interested and curious about it.
We should totally put something up about moms and the paranormal. We really should. I think we should do that. Chris,
there's a lot of us doing it, though.
There's a lot of us, exactly. Yeah. Chris, you're the one. You mentioned that you're the one that mostly ends up doing all the tech stuff. So, what is your favorite tool to use?
Honestly, it's my video camera. It's great to be able to either have something I can carry with me to, document what we're doing, or I can, set it up. Like, for instance, we went to a plantation in Virginia one hunt, and I set it up at the top of the stairs in what was the slave quarters. And these are really, hard wooden stairs. And so I set it up there. So while the rest of us are in our little circle, we're doing a EVP session, and then clearly on the camera you can hear hard boots coming up the stairs, and then nobody ends up manifesting at the top of the stairs. I think fun. It's the one tool, at least that I use, that I trust the most as far as getting the evidence from. And April usually uses the the voice recorders and stuff like that. I bought her an expensive one, and then she never uses it. I'm just saying.
Okay. Carrix, what about you? What's your favorite tool to use?
This is kind of gonna be cliche, I guess, but I'm my favorite tool to use. I less go the technological route, though I absolutely agree there's a place for that, and it's all great, but I tend to fry out electronics, and
Oh
I
yeah.
find just
It's probably
how I
that aura you
experience
have
things.
around you. It's what it is.
You know,
There's a lot to unpack there.
Pat O'Keefe called her a spiritual powerhouse,
Oh
and
my gosh.
I think that's half
But
the
April
reason
will
why
not let me
everything.
forget it.
I think that's why everything fries around her.
That is amazing. Although since I was with the two of you at St. Albans, thankfully I didn't encounter any frying of equipment when I was investigating with you guys. Thank God.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to spread out to other people. It's just if I'm trying to use it, forget about it.
Gotcha.
Don't
Good.
handle
Don't let
your
Carrie.
equipment.
Yep. Don't
do it.
let Carrie hold equipment. Got it.
Yeah, I have a hard time holding equipment because I always have a backpack on my person, so I'm just like juggling everything. All right,
Get one of those fishing vests like April uses.
Yeah. I got a fishing vest. I got like a hip holster. Listen,
You got a tool belt. You got a tool belt. That's what you got.
A tool belt. I'll whip some stuff out.
Don't try to make it fancy by saying a hip holster. You're not a Ghostbuster.
No, she's got a fanny pack.
I do. That's where I'm going to next. And don't think I want, like, I'm on my Amazon right now. I got fanny packs. Don't play with me.
Oh,
Hey,
Lord.
they're coming back.
They are. I love fanny packs. So
I need
bum
storage.
bags. They're bum bags.
Yeah. One of the questions we sometimes ask on the show is, what are some tips or tricks you guys have to recommend when people go and look at and investigate the paranormal? So now I know. Fishing vests.
Fishing vests, dude wipes. Those two things.
First aid kit.
First aid kit.
Be aware of your
So
surroundings.
I took your question to be more like technique wise instead of like the Boy Scouts be prepared motto.
Hey, the way I interpret the question, I mean, Brandon might have his way of interpreting it too, but we really look to see what can we learn from everybody. So hacks, techniques. So Chris, lay it on us.
Well, so I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a bad example because I tend to repel ghosts. And a perfect example is April mentioned we had Jane's 10th birthday at the Magnolia Hotel, and I think I went out to go get Starbucks or something. And while I was gone, they're just getting crazy activity, and I'm messaging them. I was like, "How's it going?" They're like, "It's going nuts over here." And I walk upstairs, and it stops. Like I am fairly certain there is a sphere around me that just pushes everything away.
Safety bubble.
It's my safety bubble. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's perfectly fine. So,
for me, it's patience. Like you can't go in expecting like you're gonna get a ghost hunter show. Like you have to go in knowing that there's gonna be a lot of downtime. You just have to kind of push through it, and most of the time you're not gonna know what you get until you review your stuff later, or unless you're April and your butt starts tingling. That's besides the point.
It's true.
Oh God, yes.
That's her tell. That's her tell.
I think I told her. Listen, look, other people are saying it. I'm not. It wasn't just me being weird.
Just let it out.
It's kind of you being weird, but
hey guys, my butt's tingling. That's how you know the ghosts are close.
For everybody else listening out there tonight or watching the show on streaming for streaming, this is basically what our Dungeons and Dragons game is like too. But Carrix, you're welcome to come and play anytime you want. I need you. I want you.
We'll just give you a random character to play.
We're basically reality show. In Dungeons and Dragons.
It's true. It's incredible. Hilarious. I live for it.
Thank you. So I want to kind of backtrack back to the podcast for a moment because you guys, but I want to know and obviously everybody should listen to your podcast, and I'll put a link in the show notes, but I want to know, and you mentioned Carrie channeled a trucker.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I really need to. I think I want to know what this is all about. What is What is the trucker?
So I'll start it up by saying that I've lived in the house that I live in for February will be 13 years.
Okay.
But before that, this was my great-grandmother's house. The entire time that we've lived here, periodically through the TV, through cell phones, through computers, any sort of electronic device, you would hear a trucker talking on CB radio. Just one end of the conversation, not both. The same voice. It wouldn't be all the time, just sporadically. You would be watching TV and then all of a sudden,
breaker 19.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes. So
we have an entire episode where he just Mr. Knock Knock hijacks the episode.
So, okay, why do you call him Mr. Knock Knock?
Well, so we started the podcast and he kept breaking in and interrupting, and the majority of the time I couldn't hear him, but they can hear him. But there's one episode, I think it's called Mr. Knock Knock's Wild Ride, where just the entire episode, he just is on it talking, and he let out that his handle is Mr. Knock Knock.
He loves oysters.
Yeah. I think it's like Mr. Knock Knock Seafood Adventures.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
We've been trying to find him. Like, we had art done of him. Like, we were all taking guesses as to what he would look like. Like, my thing, I thought he would look like old, like, 1990s Richard Petty.
Oh, yes.
He does have that voice.
Absolutely.
He talks very fast.
That is
beautiful. Mr. Knock Knock Seafood Adventure.
Okay, so this is, just to clarify, this is a living human being that
we think he is.
Yeah,
as far as you know, that just broke through the radio waves and it's just interact.
Yep.
Does he actually interact with you guys?
No, he doesn't know
hear
that we hear him. Yeah.
And we can't hear
one-way conversation.
We can only hear him.
It's the weirdest thing ever.
Okay, so everybody at ParaFamily, try and listen to this episode, Freqs and Geeks. And by the way, it's Freqs spelled Freqs.
Like frequencies.
Yes, like frequencies. And also because Freqs and Geeks was an old 1990s TV show. So that was taken. But yeah, if you listen to that episode and draw your own conclusions on who Mr. Knock Knock might actually be, that is crazy.
He's a trucker in like the
if somebody knows
Richmond,
Mr. Knock
Hampton
Knock,
Roads
let
area.
us know.
Yeah, so I've reached out to like he's like a union guy. He's like the head of the trucker union. I don't know if there's multiple, but I found him and I like reached out to him. I told him our whole story and I was like, we need to find this trucker. And he left me on red. So then I made trucker friends. I have a trucker friend, right? And I made more because I was still trying to find Mr. Knock Knock. And I'm like trying to, like I'm asking him like, hey, how could I find this person? Like, could we send it over the CB radio? And they're just like, that is, ma'am, that's not how we do things anymore.
They left you on red.
That's weird.
We're trying to find him. We know that he frequents a specific seafood place, and we know that he picks up, like, we think that he is in like the southern end of Richmond, and that he like drops off up in the northern neck. Is that what we were saying, Carrie?
He talks about calling to like Hampton, and based on stuff that he has said, we think that he's from the northern neck.
Oh, well, that would make sense with the oysters and everything. Having worked in the Northern Neck area, it's known for oysters over there.
Is it the green ones he likes or the black ones?
He likes the green ones.
There's a green one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and he explains. He explains in the thing.
Yeah, and he explains why you don't eat the other ones.
Great detail. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, well, hey.
We don't have to do anything in that episode. You just listen to Mr. Knock Knock all day.
That is
us commenting on what he's saying.
And he can't hear you guys at all.
Nope.
If he can, he does a great job of ignoring it.
That's wild.
It's just us sitting around looking like cats with airplane ears, like Like, the whole time.
I think there should be a time when Brandon and I actually have a show like that where we're just sitting there like, yeah. I think we should try that sometime. See what happens.
The hard part is that when he comes in, like he'll come in spurts. So like we could be in the middle of an episode and we're talking, all of a sudden he comes in and then we try to like just pause so he can get his spiel out, and then it stops and like, oh, we can go, and then he comes back. It's just you just don't know with Mr. Knock Knock.
Is he just kept going, so we're like, you know what, this is the episode.
Yeah, that episode just didn't stop. So.
That is crazy. Okay, well, that is, that's
he's
just
an unofficial
mysterious.
Member of the podcast.
He is.
I can tell that. I can tell that. Wild. Hey, as I said, ParaFamily, listen to that particular episode of Freqs and Geeks and see what you think. Draw your own conclusions. That's what. But you guys also have other topics on the show. I know you've talked about. One of your episodes was on Ukrainian magic and folklore, which was pretty interesting. But also I kind of want to go into geek culture a little bit because you guys also have episodes on paranormal games. You guys did a whole episode on Dungeons and Dragons. I am still trying to get Brandon to help me out with an episode of our own on Dungeons and Dragons and I hear Brandon saying, nerd. Hey,
I think for that episode we actually had our DM, our previous DM on to help, sort of guide us through it.
And from that moment on, I actually started listening to Freqs and Geeks on the drive home from Enigma Cons.
Oh, did you?
I did.
I love it.
And I was pretty much laughing the whole time. One of the games that you guys talked about is also a game that's very popular these days is Phasmophobia.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys still play?
Yeah, we do occasionally.
We dabble.
All right. So for anyone out there that does not know what Phasmophobia is, what do you guys think of it, and how do you think it plays into the public consciousness on the paranormal?
I think that it is because of the rise in popularity that a game like Phasmophobia is able to exist. And you can tell that it is like, because of the success of it, it is spun God knows how many offshoots of it. Like it's almost become its own genre in and of itself.
Oh, really?
There's
I didn't know they had offshoots.
Like there's tons of Phasmophobia clones that are out there that take the same premise and just put it, they try to put their own little spin on it. But it's I think it's great because it just introduces the idea of supernatural, paranormal, whatever you want to call it, just to a wider audience that might not have been privy to it. Maybe they were just into horror games and they just stumbled upon it. And in the horror game sense, it lives up to it.
It is pretty. I don't play video games. I've just never gotten the knack for playing. So I will watch people play video games, and it is pretty scary. There's some moments there.
Yeah,
there have been some less than manly screams that have come out of me while playing Phasmophobia.
Well, there's this like there's this like baby. There's a baby in there that like crawls on the floor.
I have not met the baby. I have not met the baby yet in Phasmophobia. Oh,
have you met the naked man?
I
don't know if it's a man or not.
I can't tell what that is.
He's like, he looks like a rotisserie chicken. I don't know how they did that, but he looks like a rotisserie chicken.
Incidentally, folks, of course, this is just a game, right? It's just a game. It's just a game. Oh man.
Them screams you'll make it like 2:00 in the morning when you're sitting there playing with your friends in the dark. Yeah, it's just a game. Keep telling yourself that.
That's the best way to experience it, though. So Are you guys still playing it now?
Occasionally, yeah.
We play it in spurts when we find the time.
Carrie, do you play it too?
I am not much of a gamer. My position is the same as yours, where I'm watching them play.
That's my enjoyment now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't. Unfortunately, don't have the dexterity to be able to play a game very well.
I never got that. I just never got it either, Carrie. Oh my God, we so need to hang out.
Like, I love watching people play games, and I'll like research, like, okay, this is what you got to do next, and this is how you can find this stuff. Like, that's my position.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
You hold the strategy guide while the other person plays.
Yes, exactly.
I like that idea. Yeah. Maybe I should start doing that for my kid.
Something that I think is really interesting about Phasmophobia is the equipment that you can actually use, and how you employ the equipment on the game, which is actually extremely it's fairly true to form for how the ways that we would employ equipment in a real scenario, right? I mean, obviously there's some game mechanics, but by and large, the equipment that you're using and the way that you employ it, it's all pretty legit.
Yeah, they have
and the spirits that they've put into it. The spirits that they've put into the game are all actual, spirits from folklore all over, the world, not just sort of limited to one section. Like, you get stuff from Japan, America, Europe, like, so it's interesting. It's interesting that they have incorporated that as well, and not just kind of focused in one region.
Okay, well, let me know when you guys play again, and I'll just kind of sit there and watch you guys from a distance.
It might be the funnest part, honestly.
Huh?
Yeah.
I said it might be the funnest part is just watching them play.
Yeah,
I always have a lot
watching
of fun
a stream on Discord, listening to
love
a
streaming
yelp
on
in
Discord.
terror.
Streaming on Discord is so much fun. It's great. All right, let's talk haunted places, guys. Give me some of your favorites, some of your experiences there. Let's go around the circle. So, let's start. Who should I start with? Who has one? Who's got a favorite haunted place?
April has haunted places she loves.
Well, don't you have some too?
It's difficult for me because, like I said, a lot of times I end up repelling the ghosts.
Okay, yeah. All right, so
I do not get as much as April does.
Let them in.
Let them in. Oh my God.
Let them
chaos. Chaotic chaos.
I'll tell you what. My favorite that we've done is the Beacon, and it's strictly because of the evidence that was caught at the Beacon Theater.
That's a neat location, and I've been there before too. And I've talked to some of the other people. We've had some people on the show that have gone to the Beacon too. We've had Ray Savino on the show. We've had the guys from Forgotten Explorations on the show. They've all been to the Beacon. Neat place.
When anybody asks me, because I like to talk about myself to people, and when I mention paranormal investigations, like they it obviously is like, oh, have you found anything? And I was like, that's the video I always go to, is what we caught at the Beacon Theater.
Yep.
What did you catch there?
We had a video. I don't know, like I think it was just a static camera that was set up. It was pointed at the stage, and it was just all you see is a white mist in the shape of humanoid-esque that just runs across the stage.
That stage is a neat area. There have been times when I've seen some thermal evidence going on the stage too. It's really interesting.
I think it might be a stagehand. That's my theory. That's my favorite.
That's a cool, the Beacon Theater in Hopewell, Virginia is a really cool location. It is still an actual theater, so they have concerts and stuff like that there. It's a really cool place for the community. And what I like about it is they still have an old projector from like what, the 1940s or something like that.
Yeah,
like the two real projectors.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, are you talking about the one that's in the wall too?
I have not seen the. Oh wait, yes, I've seen that one too. Yes,
it just got walled up, like they didn't take it out.
Yep, I remember that one. And also, they have all this concert memorabilia from all these many acts that used to play there. So it's a cool place. Carrie, what about you? Your favorite haunted place?
I mean, I think the one that I honestly have had the most experience at, outside of like day to day at home, is probably St. Albans, and just have had like all kinds of different experiences there, all kinds of different evidence. Like, it never fails to impress me every time we go there. There's always something going on.
Yeah. April, I saw you smile, so I have a feeling that St. Albans is on your list. But what do you think?
April's so comfortable she falls asleep.
I do.
Not in that bowling alley. Oh my God.
No, in suicide bath.
Both of us, both of us just leaned against each other and took a nap.
That answer's not better.
I know.
One of these days,
we were up there by ourselves. I mean,
St. Albans has always felt like home to me. It has always. I mean, at this point, I've been there so many times. Like, I feel so comfortable there. There's nothing there that scares me. There's other than wasps. That's no matter where we are. But there's nothing there that scares me. There's nothing there. I do get the most activity there. I didn't want to say St. Albans because like I feel like that's all I talk about because it is so good. So I want to say my second very close runner up would be there is an old stone house in Gettysburg.
Oh.
We went last winter, and it's an Airbnb, and it is the most activity I have ever experienced in my entire life. And I have been to like Yorktown Memorial Hospital, I've been to Lavaca, I've been to Magnolia, I've been to Brontex, I've been to I have been everywhere. It was the most activity I've ever had, and it was. And
you decided to try and sleep in it.
I stayed there for a week. Stay there for over a week. Constant activity, things opening and closing, constant EMF. We got a lot of EVPs from there. It was intense. And we were just doing normal stuff. We were just doing life, It was fun.
That does sound like a lot. Yeah, you were telling me about that one time. I think I want to go there.
It's super fun. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Beautiful.
Sounds
when you were getting the activity, did it occur later as you were staying? Did you get more as you were there?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's how most places are, really. So I went to Yorktown Memorial, which is like top 10. A lot of people want to go there.
Top
it's always
10
packed.
Most haunted sites in
right.
America.
We've been to big name places. We went to the TNT domes out at Point Pleasant. We've been to some spots.
That wasn't ghost hunting. That was Mothman hunting.
Mothman.
That was Mothman hunting.
We've been to some spots, and for Yorktown, I got bupkis. I got absolutely nothing. And it didn't even it just felt stale all night long. I think there are places that you either have to invest the time into the location and come in with with that energy that you're going to be patient, just like Chris said. Or else you're not going to get anything. And I think Yorktown was probably very similar to that. The Magnolia even, right? So we got stuff in the Magnolia, but we only really started to get a lot of stuff after we had spent a lot of time there. That's another one that I feel very comfortable in.
That's a neat little location too.
That thing has some history.
Yeah, yes. It really does.
Yes, it's a very deep history there.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. Yeah, I think between at least 3 of us, we have a lot to tell about St. Albans. Maybe we should do an episode on St. Albans sometime. I talk about it often enough and working on a book about it, which April is helping me out with that a little bit too. Thank you so much.
The history of St. Albans itself is so rich that
yeah.
And that's kind of the fun part for me when it comes to these locations, like
the history.
The bigger locations is looking at the history and like what would be explanations for why things are happening. For St. Albans, it's not hard to figure out why things might be happening. It's a sanatorium. There's going to be residual energy or anything like that that's been left behind
and a former boys' school,
right.
There's just and also everything that we have brought to the location too.
Yeah.
And also the people there just take good care of it, and they're just awesome.
They love it. Yeah, so they're great people.
Shout out to Marcel and to the amazing volunteers of St. Albans.
Chuck, especially.
Chuck, is Chuck still there? I don't think I met Chuck.
The hillbilly exorcist.
Sure. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I love me some Chuck.
Chuck Thorne. Yeah, Chuck. Mm-hmm. Chuck is good. Chuck is good. Chuck is good. And I mean, a lot of the people that run these locations really do care about the history and want to take care of the place as good as possible.
Absolutely.
So, my dear ones, we are coming to the end of tonight. So, do we have some parting thoughts about the paranormal and the shenanigans that have ensued?
I think for me, the most important thing maybe a few important things to remember is, yes, it's spooky and fun, but that's it. It's fun. So like, have a good time. Don't be afraid. Like, choose to be curious and see what's out there. And you never know, like, how it might change your life. But also, I think it's super important to be respectful and considerate and empathetic in all of your interactions with the living, dead, cryptids, whomever you run into.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't need a bunch of Zach Baggins running around trying to threaten.
I love Zach Baggins. I don't care who knows it.
He's a beautiful something.
He is a very conflicted. He's very conflicted. He's a conflicted person.
He's a beautiful conflict.
I will say that I go with Carrie, and along the respect is not only the entities that would reside at these locations, but the locations themselves. Like, respect, just don't go in thinking you run the place. Like, understand that the places that you're going into, they have a history all their own. So, do your research.
Be considerate of other investigators.
Do your homework.
Do your homework. How's your homework going, Chris? Our ParaFamily. Chris is going for his thesis right now. Yay.
Yes, I'm in the middle of aggregating all my data together to write the last half of my paper. So
go, Chris. Yes. Everybody send him good vibes.
And once it is done, I can continue writing scripts, and we can have more episodes more frequently of the podcast.
And play more D&D.
Play more D&D.
April, what about you? Any final thoughts?
Not really. I mean, these two gave some really great stuff. I mean, I think that Carrie said, like, make sure that you're being considerate of other investigators too. So because these two let off with be respectful of, the location and the spirits that you're talking to, I would say be respectful of your fellow investigators. Like, understand that not everybody's going to have your same experiences, and that's okay. That's part of what makes the field wonderful, and diverse, and make sure that you're being a good person, and hopefully you will find other groups of good people. And I promise you, if you're out there long enough, you'll find people, right? Like I found somebody here. You'll find people that are going to be part of your tribe that you just mesh with, and you click with and connect with. And don't be afraid of those experiences as well, because I know, look at me. Oh, hose. Those of you that are listening, ears up. The people in this paranormal community, we can tend to get a little insulated. We can tend to get a little introverted, right? So don't do that. Like, get out there, meet some people. I promise you, there are great people in the community. So,
and we actually have had so many amazing people here on the show, like you guys. So, where can people find you guys on the internets?
So we've got a Facebook page. We also have an X page now. We have Instagram. We also have our own website, and that is Freqs and Geeks Podcast, I think.
Yep.
Christopher, help me.
Yeah,
what?
That one.
Oh, the website?
Yeah,
sorry. I spaced for a second.
Oh my God.
And we're all over the place. Follow our individual social media as well, because a lot of us will do stuff outside the podcast, and just we all kind of have our own journey, and then we all come together and make some beautiful music in the end.
Absolutely. And I will be seeing you guys around the virtual Dungeons and Dragons table very soon, because we got stuff coming up. I got plans for anyone who's.
You've had a long time to develop those plans.
Yeah, I know.
Have I?
I know.
And Carrie, you're more than welcome to join us whenever you want. There's spot around the table for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
So on that wonderful note, thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you, Betsy, for being part. We're happy to see you. Betsy said that 3 days after she hiked one of the trails, her group found a print and did a story on the news about it. And she has a curious video on her TikTok. So plug for Betsy Kulikowski, our friend of the show and writer of the Veritas Codex series, which is awesome.
Betsy, I want to see that TikTok.
Oh, hey, not your group, someone else? Okay, yeah. But
no, hey girl, I want to see that. I want to see that TikTok. Hey girl.
Okay. Betsy, you and April, I think you found kindred spirits. But on that happy note, my friends, I am going to say thank you for joining us on the Para Unity podcast. And we are happy that you are here, and thank you for everything. If you like the show, please, if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. And we appreciate the reviews because they give us feedback, and we want the feedback to help our show better. You can also find us on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Instagram. We also, if you listen to us on Android, you can find us on Google. You can find us on all the major podcast catchers. You can even say, Alexa, play a Para Unity podcast, and you'll get us. That still blows my mind. Remember, if you like us, tell a friend, tell your family, tell everybody. Come and visit us on our socials and on our website and say hi. If you want to be on the show, let us know, drop us a message. Or if you feel so inclined visiting our website, you can buy us a cup of coffee. And on behalf of Brandon, I'm Whitney, and you have been in the best place to bring your paranormal family a little closer together. The Para Unity Podcast. Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We love you.